It is now in order to consider amendment number 25, printed in Part A of House Report 115-711. For what purpose does the gentleman from Washington seek recognition?
Madam Speaker, I have an amendment.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 25, printed in Part A of House Report number 115-711, offered by Mr. Heck of Washington.
Pursuant to the House Resolution 918, the gentleman from Washington, Mr. Heck, a member opposed. Each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Washington.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My amendment is simply about making sure the federal government is setting the example and leading the way in addressing the single largest source of water pollution in America, which is stormwater runoff. Most of us probably don't think about it, but frankly, when rain falls, and it does a lot in my neck of the woods, and flows through our streets, it picks up all sorts of pollutants. And we're talking about some really nasty stuff, frankly. Toxic chemicals like arsenic and flame retardants, as well as oils and pesticides. This stormwater hurts our lakes and rivers and waterways. And in fact, in many bodies of water, it accounts for 80% of the pollution. But it not only hurts our environment, just as importantly, it hurts our businesses that depend on clean water. As an example, Washington's shellfish industry, which employs literally thousands of people. There are probably no places in America that are more impacted by stormwater runoff than in my home on the Puget Sound, which is the largest estuary in the United States. Studies by the Washington Stormwater Center in Puyallup, Washington, have shown that stormwater can kill a salmon within hours. They have time-lapse films, but you don't have to watch them in time-lapse because it happens that quickly. Salmon and other fish are our way of life in Washington, and we're talking major business impact, $30 billion economy. Salmon also serve as a vital resource of immeasurable value to the 19 federally recognized tribes in Puget Sound. They are the salmon people. And salmon, Chinook salmon specifically, are also the prey of choice for our beloved southern resident orcas, which we are say that 5 times real fast, which we are precariously close to losing altogether. There are fewer today than when they were listed under the Endangered Species Act many years ago. So if we fail to address the problem posed by stormwater, these resources will continue to decline, and our region will lose irreplaceable icons of life in the Pacific Northwest. Now, granted, we're doing a lot to address this threat already, but it's nowhere near enough. If we are going to truly address the problem, the federal government needs to set the example. And the good news is that Congress already knows this and acknowledges this, because in 2007, this body passed a law which requires federal agencies to reduce stormwater runoff when they develop or redevelop property. And that's just a common sense requirement. But since it was enacted over a decade ago, there's been no accountability for federal agencies to show they are meeting these standards. So, brings us to my amendment. It would simply direct the GAO to study whether the Army Corps of Engineers has been able to meet these stormwater runoff mitigation requirements, and if they aren't, what changes they can make to improve their ability to meet them. Madam Speaker, if we're going to help our communities and businesses impacted by stormwater runoff, it is vitally important that the federal government set the example and lead the way. I urge the adoption of the amendment, and I yield back, Madam Speaker.
The gentleman yields. For what purpose does the gentleman from Louisiana seek recognition?
Madam Chair, I ask unanimous consent to claim time in opposition, though I don't plan to oppose the amendment.
Without objection.
Madam Chair, this amendment directs the Comptroller General to conduct a study and report on the Army Corps of Engineers' ability to comply with federal stormwater requirements. This is an issue that affects districts across the United States. I want to thank the gentleman from Washington for bringing this amendment up, for raising this issue, and we are prepared to accept. Yield back.
Yields. The question on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Washington. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.